Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Embodied Transformation podcast. I paused then, Olga, because I was like, what is this podcast called? Didn't write that down. So I have a wonderful human on today, Olga Marini, who I have known since early-ish 2024. And I am delighted to share her with you um, on this episode and her first ever podcast chit chat. So, Olga, welcome. It is lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me here, Louise. It's so nice to be here.
It's going to be everybody's pleasure. So, Olga, what I would love you to do just to kick us off is just to share a little bit about your background. Because I think it's always lovely for people to see kind of the evolution. We've all got these different paths, these different missions, these different things that we feel drawn to. And yeah, I also just think it's lovely for people to see how different people's paths evolve because we don't often get to see under the hood, right? We get to see you on Instagram or you on different places, but like who is the woman behind the mission that we will be talking about?
Yeah, sure. Where should I start? Yes, so I was born in Russia, in a city called Kazan, which is 800 kilometers to the east from Moscow. To those of our listeners who don't really know much about Russian geography, which I assume there will be many.
Myself included.
Yeah. And yeah, so I was born there, and I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. And then my parents told me that it would be nice perhaps to become a lawyer. There was a moment when I was like, ooh, I really want to be an investigative journalist, but my parents told me that that wouldn't be a great idea to do in Russia, perhaps. So my 16-year-old self agreed. And then off I went to Moscow and I studied international law, became a lawyer in Russia. But I kind of like had this pull, I wanted to go abroad, and the UK was on the list because I'm a Harry Potter fan. So I thought, why not to go to to
The
the
land of
UK?
Hogwarts.
Yes, exactly. And yes, so I went to Cambridge and did a master in law there, so an LLM. And then I stayed in the UK, got a training contract, so requalified I as a solicitor. Yeah, and stayed in the UK. So this is kind of like the background. And I worked for a number of years in law. At which point I decided to work with you, Louise, because there was a I
As all good people
no
do.
yes, a not so great time in my life where I reached burnout. And then things started changing in my life. So then I kind of decided to do a bit of yoga teacher training because I had been doing it for a while. So since I was 18 years old, and I thought, what is it that I actually love? And I thought, you know what, I'll go and do yoga teacher training and see where it leads me. And so, yeah, so now I am not only a lawyer, but also yoga instructor. And I am also a mom, which I consider another third profession, if not the most important profession.
The
Which
most full-time job of all the full-time
yes,
jobs.
exactly. Um, and my son is 13 months, and I am at the end of my mat leave, so I'm going back to work, to my day job, soon. And so juggling three things. So it could be juggling my day job as a lawyer, my job as a yoga instructor, yoga teacher, and as a mom. So that's my background.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because I've been recording videos on my walk this morning, and um, And then I've been writing captions to go with it. And one of the things I put in there is like, when we think about the work that we feel drawn to, sometimes it can be like, why this? This makes no sense. But then actually, if we look at the whole rounds of our lives, like the context, all of the different experiences, then all of a sudden it's like, well, no, of course it makes perfect sense. Of course, like this is exactly what I'm here to do, and how all of these different things have kind of laid the foundations for this thing that I feel drawn to. Because you talked then about, you are going into this, if I had balls, they wouldn't not be juggling. Nat can juggle. If I had balls, they'd be juggling around. Um, so you are going into this phase now, like really, really soon, of these three different facets of you. And I guess not you, because who you are is none of those three things. Um, but yeah, so how does that weave into what you do feel drawn to do?
Yeah, I think I've always been drawn to working with people,
Hmm.
and kind of sharing my experience, um, because I feel like, yes, intellectually we can have all these ideas about how things should work, but it is only our lived experience that can be the most valuable to the person that we work with. Um, and so I've always kind of felt that pull to work with people, and I think even in my capacity as a lawyer, I really enjoy that um people side of things.
Mm.
Um, and and yeah, so kind of yoga allows me to do that in a way. So it kind of brings me that opportunity in life to just connect with people. Sometimes these are people that I don't know very well, right? If it's just in a studio,
Mm.
and then like sometimes there's just like this moment that happens when you connect, especially if it's like it's another woman, and something is being said, something is being shared, somebody makes a joke in the room, and then suddenly there's this magic that happens, and you kind of feel that connectedness,
Mm.
connection with people. Um, and I think this is what I'm really drawn to. And then I particularly enjoy working with women because I feel that, I mean, I can help men, obviously, by doing a yoga class. But I just love working with women because I feel like there's so many shifts in our lives. Some of us are going through pregnancy, then we're going through postpartum. We are like navigating all of these changes in life. Every month we're navigating so much, right, with all the hormonal shifts. And I know that I feel that as a woman. So then I feel that then I can bring something to the table and I can connect with the person that I'm working with. I don't know whether I answered your question. I feel like I've gone on a tangent there.
Yeah, you did, and we know I love a tangent, right? Olga's worked with me long enough now to know that the tangents are the way forward. Yeah, and the thing as well is, you have all of these skills, all of these backgrounds, but it also makes you perfect to support women who are in that juggling space as well. So maybe they also have a busy career, or they're running a household and they have children, or they're caring for people, like a lot of people then end up caring for their parents or whatever it is. And maybe we'll get into it, maybe we won't. But the fucking mental load of a woman, I mean, I don't have children. Don't get me started on the mental load. Right? And I haven't even got to deal with that additional dynamic. Um, And I think one of the things that makes such a big difference, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think you came to work with me as a coach, right? Because I had been a lawyer. I had been a solicitor for over a decade and I'd had burnout and I got it. So it was like she clearly has got the skills and the qualifications and stuff to support me here, but also I'm not going to have to sit and explain to her, like I might a traditional therapist or someone else, what it actually is like in the office environment. I'm just going to be like, you know what it's like. And she's going to be like, I know what it's like. And I think the same thing then is probably the case for your clients and the people that come to you. of like you're not going to be the person that says we've all got the same 24 hours in a day. No, we fucking don't. Right? So you're actually they can actually be seen and held and supported by you through a whole different lens.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Kind of circling back to the point that you made, about me working with you and being drawn to working with you,
Mm.
I felt incredibly supported at the moment I started working with you. And I had been working with a therapist before then, and then I decided not to work with them anymore just because I felt that there wasn't that connection, and it took me ages to explain, oh, I'm going through this, or work is really busy, or oh, I have a hearing, and it's 24/7. And yeah, and in the same way, I hope that I'll be able to bring that to the table more and more as I work with busy women who are juggling a lot, especially demanding careers, and as you said, the mental load, and like being the manager of the household. Very often, we as women do that. When you know where
Yes.
everything is, where when the nursery drop-offs and pickups are, and when the next, I don't know, birthday is, and you plan for this, and you are the one picking everything up, and then who is there to hold you, and who can you work with where you don't need to spend 20 minutes just explaining, that is a lot to carry.
Yeah. Yeah. And so where people might be confused at this point is it's like, hang on a minute, she's talking about all of this stuff, but she said that she's a yoga teacher. How does all of this understanding, how do these extra layers come in? And the answer is, and I'll let you tell them, but the answer is that Olga is not your traditional yoga teacher. I mean, really, she's underselling herself by about like 40 bazillion percent when she's like, oh, and I did yoga teacher training and I'm a yoga teacher, right? So, how do you actually like how is this relevant? How do you actually support people? Because yes, there is yoga, there is movement, but also like what else?
Yes, so I refer to my classes as more than yoga.
Love it.
So, what does more mean? Um, so what I like to do is introducing a bit of chit chat about what is it that the person wants, because what I found through my own experience, through my own lived experience, but also working with others, is that mind and body is connected. So sometimes, yes, we store things in our body, but it is also nice to talk about it, and it's also nice to talk about what's going on in your life. And my own example is, for example, I hold a lot of stress in my jaw, and so it is helpful to talk
You
about
aren't
it.
alone.
And it is helpful to talk about it, and to discuss what is behind this. When is it that I feel this tension? But then also complement it with some, perhaps some jaw massage and some movements, some neck movements, some pelvic floor exercises, because the jaw and the pelvis are connected. And yeah, so it's kind of like a blend of that I do on myself and do with others. And usually it's a joyful experience.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. And do you do this? Is this online? Is it in person? Like, how does it, if people are listening to this and they're like, oh, more than yoga sounds cool. Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so I tend to work one-on-one online.
Mhm.
If somebody is based in London and they live not too far away, or somewhere in central London, then obviously we can meet in person. But very often, um, I have clients who work with me online, and then it's really convenient because you just jump on a 1 hour session from your own home. Um, so yeah, so primarily online.
Yeah. And so if I was going to come to you and be like, oh, hey, Kate, I'm here, I'm ready for my 1 hour session. Obviously, we're not going to do it, but like, but so what would it look like? Because like I think this is going to be really intriguing for people. It's like, hang on a minute, I can do online, almost like yoga with coaching, therapy, mindset, mindfulness thrown in at the same time. Um, and I can do it one on one, like just tailored to me and exactly what I want. Because I love me a good yoga class, right? But some days I can't be fucked doing 25 minutes of sun salutations, right? Or, even when I went to Bali, I had done this thing with this amazing yogi and I'd sat in a half lotus. My knees weren't designed for a half lotus. And then I was in so much pain. And then I thought I'm having to modify everything and all the rest of it. So, yeah, so I think this could be really exciting for people who are like, oh, hold on a minute. Convenient, don't have to leave the house, tailored support to me, and I also get to talk about what's going on in my life. So, yeah, what would it look like if I was like, Olga, hi, I'd like to book a one-on-one session?
Yeah, so what it would look like is I'd ask you first about your needs and what is it that you're looking for. So as you mentioned, obviously, doing 25 sun salutations is not for all of us. And most of us will actually not enjoy 25 sun salutations and a headstand and a handstand and like all the sorts of things that you can find in a yoga. I mean, we can do that if this is what you want, but very often there are other needs. It's like, oh, I have a pain there, or I have things, or I have a lot of stress in life, and I just want to distress a bit. And then we'll have a chat. We'll have a 30-minute chat about what your needs are. And then I'd send you a health form with like a health questionnaire with like slightly where I would like ask you a bit more about, where is it that you are, and what is it that you want, where do you experience any symptoms in your body, on a scale from 0 to 10, all the general questions like that, just to make sure that, you know, I'm doing it in a safe way. Yes, and then we'll just jump on a call at some point, whenever it's convenient for both of us. And we'll play it by ear. So it won't be that I'll say, oh, this is what we actually have to do in a class. Sometimes it'll be a lot of chit chat and conversation and where is it that you are at and what is it that you're holding in your life. Sometimes it'd be a bit more movement, sometimes it'd be a bit more breath work, sometimes just a meditation perhaps, or yoga nidra. So it is, as you said, very, very tailored to what the needs are. And these needs can vary and can change throughout the month. Sometimes, you can turn up at a session and feel, oh, I feel really energized and I want a bit of movement. And sometimes just like, oh, I'm not feeling it. And what you need is just, just a yoga nidra and a nap. Which I'm very happy to hold that space.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's just beautifully tailored to the person in front of you. And what I can say from my personal experience, so Olga has worked with me in many guises, right? Since April 20, did we decide it was 2024? April 2024. So Olga has been a one-on-one client for pretty much all of that time. She was in the Your Way Mastermind, but Olga also has done a round of the Wealthy Witches Mastermind. And Olga came to the Wealthy Witches retreat, which was in March of this year, 2026, if anyone's watching this in the future. And I asked Olga to facilitate a yoga class for us. And what was amazing was she asked us, so there was just two people at the retreat. So there was me and another lady, and she asked at the start, she was like, what is it that you're like looking for? What you're noticing, like how you're feeling? Um, I can't remember what Steph said, but my hips, I was like, my hips, because like Olga says about the pain stored in her jaw. My jaw can be a bit whatever. But the hips don't lie. And my hips don't lie. Um, and honestly, it was the most beautiful session. Like so beautifully held. We did these incredible, like, and it was so gentle. It was so gentle, but it was so magical because, like, as much as you can enjoy running a retreat space, and I do, let's not like it's a lot. It's a lot to hold space for people for that amount of time. But it was just like this gorgeous half an hour of magic. I'd also never done a female focused only session. So there were certain things that we did, certain practices that we did that you would only do if you had the anatomy of a woman, right? And that was super interesting as well and fun. And every now and again, but not as often as I could, I'm not going to say should, I do that little practice where I try and see if I can get my big toe and my little toe on the floor and then lift my other toes. I'm like, come on, foot health, foot health. Can I do it? Can I do it? But it was incredible and it really stayed with me. And what really blew me away was it wasn't actually that long after you'd done all of your various certifications. You had what, a 10-month-old at that point, you're still breastfeeding, and like literally there on your feet, you're like, I'm here to teach this yoga class. I've got music, I've got a playlist, and they've just told me what they need, and now we're gonna do it was about four, I think you did about 40 minutes in the end, and I'm going 40 minutes of movement, just and you might have had a general overall plan, but you tailored that plan to what we said, and it was seamless.
Yeah, I think this is kind of where I came to, because you can plan the class as much as you can, but when you actually meet your students on the day, this is when this is when the magic happens, because this is when you see how the students actually feel, what is the energy in the room, um, and what is it that they actually need. So yes, I can have a vague ideas like, oh, perhaps I'll do that, perhaps I do this, but actually very, very often I just tailor it on the day in the moment. Um, I really like it like this about yoga classes, because I don't know, it feels a bit more creative and it's kind of less rigid. And I think this is kind of generally where I'm striving to in life, be slightly less controlling. And like kind of embracing that freedom of creativity. And holding a space in a way that is most needed for the people that I'm working with.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I haven't done zillions of yoga throughout my entire life, but I do feel like this approach is quite rare. I think often it is like, I've got this prescriptive thing, or I've come up with this class and I will teach this class for the next 8 classes. So if people come to this class 8 times, they are going to do this class 8 times. And then I might come up with another class. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I think like for the woman who is drawn to, like, I'm busy. Like, I'm not talking about myself now. I'm just putting myself in the right now. I'm busy. My life's busy. I haven't got time to be dicking around. I don't want to be spending half an hour on a tube or half an hour driving to some yoga studio to come and do a thing to have a class that I don't really want to do. The other thing for me is, so Olga is a more petite lady and I am a more very tall lady, but I'm 5'10", right? Most yoga classes are oversubscribed. So when you turn up as a 5'10" woman with long arms, I don't want to be touching the person next to me. I don't want to be doing the twists and then I have to be careful where I put my feet because I'm going to kick the next person next to me, or we've all been there. We know what it's like. Um yeah, so I just as you know, there is a certain kind of person, and you are one and I am one, where it's like my time is precious and I want the best, basically. Obviously, that's why you work with me, right? But for those people, it's like actually like the convenience, the ease, and all the rest of it, and that ability to adapt. Because it is a very different style. It's like I could never be the coach. It's like, okay, we're going to do 6 sessions, and session one, we're going to do this, and session two, we're going to do this, and session like, in some ways, it might be easier. But it's like, but what if the person doesn't need any of that fucking shit in sessions one, two, three, four, five, or six? They need something completely different. And I love the fact that you can bring that level of adaptation into what you do and movement
Thank
and
you.
talking.
Thank you, Louise. Yeah, and I think it's kind of because I've been doing yoga for such a long time, and I've had all these different teachers, and I kind of realized that I'm getting quite picky in what I need and I know what I want. And when I go to and do classes myself, I'm very rarely satisfied with the general class. Yes, I'm happy, and yes, I find those beautiful moments in every class, but I myself, I'm quite picky in what I want. And this is what I want to kind of to bring to every session that I lead, that I teach, is that I want the person to come out of it and say that I got exactly what I wanted and what I needed in the moment.
Amazing. So I want to actually go back now to something that you said ages ago in this episode about burnout. So you reached out to me in 2014 because you experienced burnout, and then we start working together, and things just start to shift and open up and all of the rest of it, right? Now, I actually don't know what your answer to this question is going to be, but it's very interesting now when I look back on my life because I had my version of this in 2018. Now, it was burnout, right? It was burnout. I'm not trying to say it wasn't burnout, but also I'm like, but also was it like the start of a great awakening for me? It's like I'd had all of these little nudges about what it was that I should be doing, and like I'd known for quite a long time. For me, now I'd known for quite a long time that tax law was not my was not my joy project. Um, and I ignored it and I kept pushing and I ignored it and I kept pushing. And then came the thing where it was like, you are going to pay attention now. And we're going to slam this thing at you. So you pay, and at that point, I did pay attention. Um, and it's just very interesting now when I look back, especially when I look at like what the astrology was doing at that point in time. I'm like, yes, yes, it was burnout, but also was it for me the start of this great awakening of like you're not doing what you came here to do, and it's time to pay attention, love. So I'm just curious for you, when you look back now, does it feel like obviously it was still burnout, but does it feel for you as well almost like this start or this next part of this evolution of this kind of awakening process into some of the other things that you felt drawn to explore and do as well?
Yeah, yes. I would say the burnout is something good that happened in my life because my life has changed in ways that I couldn't have even imagined. And I opened myself to all these experiences that um, have so far brought me so much joy and kind of, yeah, kind of looking back to pre-burnout, I feel like there was like a strict set of rules that I was following because, there was a certain framework within which success, could be reached. And I was like, okay, so this is what I'll be doing. But then burnout happened, and I realized that perhaps this framework that exists is not for me. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that my body had been telling me about this for a while, but it's just that finally kind of it hits you, and you're like, and you're not listening to such a long time, and then suddenly it hits you, and you're like, oh yes, okay, I'll take a break now. So yes, definitely a good thing. And yeah, perhaps even an awakening. I don't know whether I need a bit more time to definitely say, oh yes, I and I can't say I'm fully awakened, obviously, but I'm definitely more awakened than I was before burnout.
Yeah, yeah. So talk to me a little bit about, so we've mentioned briefly that you came and supported the I mean you didn't come and support, you were at the Wealthy Witches retreat and you supported us with a beautiful yoga session. Um so Wealthy Witches is kind of relatively new in my world, so that you were part of the second round. How was it? How was it for you? Like what, how did you find it? Why did you do it actually, first of all, right? So you had this legal background, you were in other spaces with me, and you very much felt drawn to doing this work. So what was it about that space that drew you to it?
I was really curious. I remember feeling that curiosity, and I've learned to listen to that inner voice that said, "Oh, this might be something that, you
Mm.
know, I might be interested in. And this is generally how I'm kind of I'm doing it more and more. I feel like I'm making decisions more from my soul than from my mind. And sometimes it's like, oh, but why do I really need to do this? We were already working one on one. I was already, I kind of like knew what I wanted to do, but perhaps not to that extent. But then I was drawn to joining that space. And I think it was one of the best decisions because of the obviously the leadership that you provided, but also the community and like all these beautiful people who were sharing their stories on the call and who came and brought their vulnerability and were sharing, what was going in their lives, what their dreams were. And I just felt really seen and held, but also inspired to go and do my own thing. And actually, as you know, towards the end of the wealthy, which is um, um, do we call it a mastermind? Is it a mastermind? I don't know. So
It's a
the
mastermind,
it's a
yes.
mastermind.
A small
How do I refer
collection,
to it?
a small collection of minds coming together
Yeah,
with their
so
bodies as well. We bring our bodies into the mastermind.
so towards the end of the mastermind, I think I already had it so much more figured out than at the beginning of the of the mastermind. So I feel like the idea of teaching yoga in this way, it almost like was born and then developed throughout the mastermind, which yeah was this beautiful. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and then actually, what's been a real joy for me is then watching you take what we did in that space and really birth it into reality. You're on your Instagram, you're showing up, you're doing your videos, you're sharing some of Olga's yoga stuff. I'm like, oh, she's really good at yoga. Even though like the video that you did some I think it was like a crow pose. You're gonna know the one. You're doing a crow pose and then you jumped back into plank, essentially.
Yeah,
Right?
chaturanga dandasana.
Right. But the whole point of Olga's video was about that like sometimes that's not what you needed was the force and sometimes what you needed was just to slow down. No, it completely passed me by. I was like, oh, look at what this lady's doing. But actually, but to build that capacity to be visible and share and support people is incredible, right? Because this is the work. It's really hard. Like you're right, we all get given this rule book, this script of like, these are the things that you need to tick in order to be successful. And if you go outside of this list, then everything will fall apart and it's not okay. And no, we need to do this and you need to hide these parts and these emotions are not allowed and all of these different pieces, right? And actually for you to just be in this place of like, yeah, this is who I am. I'm going to share myself. This is how I support people. This is what it
Yeah, and
looks like.
it was a massive shift for me because I'm generally not a poster. Like before, obviously like I had a personal Instagram page and I would never really post there. I would just, look at others. I
You
was
were
like
a
one of
voyeur.
those.
You were a voyeur
Yes.
on.
And then suddenly something shifted and I was like, oh, actually I do have something to share and I will be sharing that and I'll just show up as myself. And coming from that place of, I'll just share what I have to share. And like if anyone is interested, they'll check me out. And if it's not their cup of tea, it's fine for me as well. And kind of like accepted that. And I think that was possible, you know, as we work through, various challenges, including the visibility challenge in the mastermind.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And it's interesting, isn't it? How, we feel drawn to share ourselves, and it's like, but actually, well, not everybody is going to understand, but people will feel drawn to it because if and it's so hard, right? It's so hard because you've had like you've seen the inside because you've been in quite a lot of different groups and things, right? But it is so hard when you are in corporate, right? When you've got a busy corporate job and maybe you're also a mum and you're juggling all of these different facets and everyone in the office paints on their happy, I'm busy, everything's great face, right? It can be so hard then to be the one that's like, I feel like I'm drowning. How is everyone around me doing okay? How is everyone around me, seem to be thriving when I'm really struggling? Now, you now know, like I now know, that once we can start to feel it and see it, it's like, okay, out there is a whole fucking shit show of its own doing, really. Um, but I think it's so you used the word magical before, but it's so special, right? And it's so needed for women in these roles doing these things to have the support, but also to have the depth and the level of support, right? I was thinking about this on my walk this morning with Sydney, and I was thinking about you and the doing the yoga, right? And your stuff is more than yoga, right? It's so much more than yoga. But actually, even if it was just yoga, and I'm not talking to you now, but even just yoga, right? If you think about the whole of the human experience and what happens when we put ourselves on the yoga mat, right? We put ourselves on the yoga mat and we slow down, possibly for the first time all week or since we did the last yoga class. And we breathe. And what happens when we breathe? We connect into our bodies. And what happens when we slow down and we connect into our bodies? We then experience the things that we've been avoiding and overriding and pushing through. And so, even just the experience of a yoga class, just the asanas, right? Is something that really I think should be approached with like an awful lot of integrity, an awful lot of care, an awful lot of skill. So I know for myself, 2020, we all know what happened, right? And the gym shut, and I was pretty addicted to the gym. I was there like 5, 6 days a week, and there was no gym anymore. I mean, I immediately rushed out to buy like at-home workout equipment. But someone recommended to me yoga with Adrian on YouTube, right? That I could do. And I remember going through one of her like series or one of her class things, and it didn't make any sense to me. But I'm in the house on my own. Actually, I think Nat was around, but I'm in the lounge on my own on a yoga mat. And the next thing I know, I'm just crying my eyes out. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why. I'm just there and I'm just crying. And this is, a year before I discovered nervous system work, somatic work, body work. So I'm just there on the yoga mat, crying on my own. And I think so many of us have this whole thing where like we've had to carry all of this stuff on our own. And so even I think yoga in and of itself, or essentially anything where we're helping someone to connect into themselves, is a space that needs to be held in a certain way because you just never know what is going to come up for the person in front of you. So I don't know if you want to say anything around that because I know this is I know this is like quite an important thing to you.
Yes, and I was just I've been thinking about my experience and how I connected to my body and my feelings, and I think yoga was that school, that allowed me to stay with what was happening in my body and kind of building that um skill of staying with discomfort in an asana
Mhm.
and feeling through the discomfort and staying with it perhaps a bit longer, but also knowing that it's always safe to go back to child's pose or, whatever your resting pose is. And I think this is kind of very similar to well, not perhaps not very, but similar to, what, we can do, for example, you and I can do in a one-on-one session, right? When you kind of hold that safe space for me and kind of sometimes I need to feel in the discomfort that is happening in my body. So yeah, so definitely kind of that is what um kind of taught me how to work with that and to understand myself a bit more, my needs a bit more. And I can definitely relate to crying in a yoga class. I've had plenty of experiences when, after a very busy week, especially when it's hip hop The hips don't lie, Louise. As you said, and having that safe space where you can cry and be seen. So I've had that experience in yoga classes or in like in retreats where, what I would get from a yoga instructor was a box of tissues, which is
Laid
helpful.
over.
Thank you for the box of tissues. I think there's always like I think it depends on how you get the box of tissues, right? And what state you are in. And sometimes it can be like, okay, the teacher sees me and they're supportive of me and it's okay for me to cry. But sometimes it's not enough, right? Sometimes you kind of like need a bit more. And so this is why I'm really drawn to what I do, but also was really drawn to the certification. So being able to hold a safe space where if there is an emotion that comes up, then I know how to deal with it. And there are many other reasons why I'm doing the certification, which I'm really enjoying, but that is one of the reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I think is so lovely as well is that you feel that pull, that draw of, because we had loads of chats about this while you were doing Wealthy Witches, of like actually it is more than yoga. I think that might be the episode of that. I think that might be I think we might have the title for our episode today. Actually, it is more than yoga. And is it also partly like therapy or yoga therapy, or like, but how am I gonna create this space for these women where they can come and be fully held and seen with this beautiful blend of different modalities? Because like I teach in the certification, one thing in and of itself is rarely required because we're complex beings. There's all of these different aspects of ourselves. And actually, how do we support someone to come back to their version of wholeness? Um, and I think and actually before we talk more about the certification, I do think it's like worth you just taking a moment to really just take that in. Right? Because you aren't like, oh, I want the quick fix, or I want to do this thing. It's like, no, like I feel drawn to properly, deeply hold and support women. How they like, I'm not going to avoid the emotions, I'm not going to fling a box of tissues at them or gently nudge it to them or whatever. No, I want there to be a space for them where they can be seen and held and be vulnerable. And I feel drawn to hold that space. Like it's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I think I feel a lot of joy, when, as we're talking about this. Um, and I think just even accepting that there's never a quick fix, I think is always a first step because there are so many people who are like, oh, I feel a bit stressed. I'll just go to a yoga class or, I'll just book in 5 therapy sessions and then suddenly, I'll feel better. Well, yes, perhaps to a certain degree, but very often, there's so much more that is going on. And sometimes having that kind of slightly more extended support is extremely beneficial. And the more, I mean, I've been doing personal development work and yoga for so many years now, and the more I work on myself, the more things show up in my life, and it's always a journey, and I'm just enjoying the ride.
Yeah. Do you experience it differently now, right? And I say this because I remember there been a point in time, actually, like when I say I was upset, I mean I was devastated because I actually started personal development, my own personal development work, right, in the midst of burnout, with this deep belief because I drank the Kool-Aid that if I did enough personal development work, then I was going to get there, wherever there was meant to be. And there was going to be like no negative emotions ever again. I was just going to be happy and joyful all the time. Everything would just be amazing. And that would be it. I mean, like completely bypassing the entirety of the human experience. And I remember getting to this point, this realization of, oh, oh, that's not going to happen. I might judge my emotions less. I might react or respond in a different way. I might have more access to joy or different things. But you mean that this personal development work is not, in fact, going to help me bypass the entire of the human experience. And there are still things I'm going to have to feel that feels uncomfortable. I was angry. I was angry. I was upset. I remember like wail. I'm not talking about little cries, like wailing to my therapist, being like, "What's the fucking point?" And he was like, "That's a really good question to consider. What do you think is the point?" Fuck you. Fuck you. Questions. Um, so yeah, so I guess I'm just curious. Like, if you had, like, did you have a similar experience? And then how do you experience it now? Because now when I have something come up, I experience it very differently. Differently. It isn't like,
Mhm.
oh God, the world is going to end and this is terrible, or oh, not this again. It's like, I wonder what's on the other side of this particular bit of joy.
Yeah, so I remember, so I was working with my therapist, and she was very um supportive of the my transformation as I was going through my divorce. And then I got into a new relationship that was really happy, and I was really, really content in what was happening. I was like, oh, my therapy is probably coming to an end. And I was like, yeah, something is going on at work, but I'm smart enough and I can figure it out. So I kind of like, and she's not really the kind of person that can support me with this. So I think I'll just pause my therapy. And then obviously so many other things happened in my life. And I was like, yes, but yes, perhaps, I kind of sorted my life in some aspects of my life, but there are so many other things that are going on, and there were so many other things that I didn't see back in the day. And then obviously burnout happened, and then I kind of was working through layers and layers and layers. So first there was this realization, actually burnout happened, so clearly I need more support. Clearly. Clearly this decision not to work with a therapist, and then reaching burnout is showing me that something I need a bit more support. But then also um realizing, so that I think we discussed this previously, but I feel that there is a spiral there, and as the more and more I work on my personal development, kind of the deeper I see. Sometimes I just go back and I'm like, oh, there were like all these things that I didn't even think of a couple of years ago, and now that's the aha moment. I'm like, oh yes, this is what actually was happening to me. And I just find it really beautiful. And I feel, yes, I think there was a moment when I was like, oh, damn it, I need to invest all this money. And there probably will not be a point in my life when I'll be like, yes, and I'm done now, and I'm perfect, and my life is perfect. No, there'll be another layer. There'll always be another layer. And then if I go through all the layers in one aspect of my life, then suddenly there'll be another aspect of my life that will need, sorting out. So, now I'm opening up this whole box of, me being a mother and me parenting and how I show up as a parent. And this wasn't an issue, obviously, a couple of years ago. Now it is a whole new issue. And now this has brought up all of these things about how I was parented and what I enjoyed in that and what I perhaps didn't enjoy in that. And
Yeah.
sometimes a couple of years ago, I'd be like, oh, I don't really care about that point. And now I'm like, oh, no, I care about it now because now I have a son and I want to parent him in a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing as well that I notice now as well, yes, like stuff still comes up, but generally I'm in a place where I can hold myself through it. So for me now, it isn't, oh, there's another layer, there's more stuff to look at. Now it's also, and I actually think if you really feel into it, I kind of feel like you're in a very similar place. Now it's also like, I just don't want to do it on my own. I spent a long time being like the strong one, the one that sorted it all out, like carrying everything else. Like, why would I want to do it on my own? Like, that's not interesting to me. We don't live in a time now where, we're surrounded by, I actually do live in a village, but like we're like the close-knit community, and you've got the wise woman and the elders and all the people in the village that you go to for advice, or like families are super close-knit. It's like that's not how it works now. And actually, and I'm saying this because I think your people are going to be the same, right? You don't work with me now because you need to work with me. You work with me because you just like having the support. You'd be fine on your own, right? All of my clients would, right? And the same for me with my coach. But I think for you, it's like it's that woman who is like, yeah, I'm fine, but I don't want to be fine. I want to be held. I want to be supported. I want some time just for me. And I want the time just for me to feel like luxury. That won't mean anything to you, but that's how me and Nat say luxury sometimes. Luxury.
Yes, definitely. And I think that um there's that moment when you realize that you just don't want to. Yes, you could do it on your own, but it would be a lonely journey. And sometimes you just want somebody to hold you, and then suddenly the experience is so much richer. And sometimes you get where you want to slightly, perhaps quicker because the person with which you're having a conversation, has a different perspective, which might open other gates of, conversations. And suddenly, I don't know, just makes life a bit more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like you said with Wealthy Witches, you're in this group where you're also around people with like completely different missions, but these sort of similar goals and processes, going through similar things, sharing vulnerably. So then you don't feel quite so like I'm the only one. And you can all inspire each other. And so as we sort of come towards the end, you have sort of alluded to the fact that you also then joined the certification. I just like to say I'm clearly doing something right when it comes to working with you, not necessarily across the board. So how are you finding the certification? What's it like? What drew you to it? What would you want people to know? To any of those? What are the people in there like? Don't say you hate them all.
The people are lovely. I'm learning so much from them. It's such a lovely bunch of people. That they're all super qualified, far more qualified than I am, and I'm really loving it. I'm
And
like,
me.
oh my God. I'm like, oh my God, I can learn from all of them. But yeah, I was drawn. Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. I really wanted to be able to hold space in a safe way because I genuinely feel that any transformation, even in the context of one session, can only happen if the person is feeling safe. And if the person, for some reason, isn't feeling safe or isn't trustworthy of of the instructor, of the facilitator, or, whatever they call themselves, then, you know, nothing will change. It just, you just won't get there. And I really wanted to be that person who is able to bring that safety and who knows a bit more about nervous system regulation, how to ask intelligent questions. And also because I really loved what you were doing to me. And I was like, I'm really loving it. I'm feeling that I'm getting somewhere. How can I do that to others? That'd be interesting if I could do that. So this is what really was, yeah, drew me to the certification.
How does it feel though, going through because the workbooks they're like detailed, aren't they? Like these are like I didn't realize how detailed they were going to be, but when I started, I was like, they need to be this detailed. But how does it feel on the other side of it? Because like you even said in our one-on-one the other day, you were like, I'm not really aware. Like, why are you asking me these questions?
Y- Yes, and I'm just enjoying I'm enjoying going through that detail because then suddenly some of the things that we did previously make a bit more sense to me because I'm like, oh, this is how it all works, or at least I still have a vague understanding, a better understanding that that what I had, and yes, they are detailed, but it's a joyful read. It's like, and it's kind of like it's not like pages and pages and pages of information. It's all very well structured, and yeah, and
Minimal
sometimes I
typos.
just minimal type. Yes, I do notice occasional type. But that's my professional deformation as a lawyer, right? I notice typos everywhere. This is just who I am, so but yes, I actually I find them incredibly helpful. And I feel that yeah, they kind of like enrich the whole experience because sometimes you need that written textbook that you go to. Hmm.
Yeah, and that I mean, to be honest, when I started, I didn't realize they would be so detailed because I think by the time you're done, you're probably going to have 300 plus pages of what will be a textbook. But you kind of alluded to it, Michael did as well, and but they've been written with a thing of how do I give you the information that you need, but in a way that is practical and easy to understand and easy to grasp, so that actually it can walk you through the whole process. So even if you didn't do the certification, the workbooks would stand on their own, but why not come and join a fabulous group? Um, but yeah, I like see it as my legacy because they're not quick to put together.
No, yeah, I mean, I can see all the hard work that has gone into it. And I think that they're so incredibly accessible, right? Because, like, I don't have another coaching certification behind my back or like a degree that is, any way related to this. And still, it's like, it all makes a lot of sense to me as I go through this. So, just based on this, I think you've done a fantastic job. And I'm so looking forward to all the other workbooks. I'm like, yes, I'm done with this module. Can I go to the next one now? I was like, no, no, I have to pace myself and work through this because there are like all these questions, right, that I need to go through. Like, it's like, what are my shadows? What am I going through? What is it that triggers me? All these questions.
Yeah, we're not shying away from doing the work in there. And you've got initiation force sitting there waiting for you when you're ready. So as we end, first of all, thank you, amazing, for coming on. We have not yet we've talked about your one-on-one offerings, but we have not talked about a fabulous new small group circle space that you are starting and may have just started actually when this goes out. But I did check with Olga at the beginning, people can still join. So can you share a little bit about what that looks like if people feel drawn to come into a small space? And I assume it's just a small space where you are still tailoring it to the people in the room, of course, but you're like, yeah, we'll
Exactly,
just say it
exactly. Spot on.
explicitly.
Yes, it's called Saturday Sister Circle, and it's a women's circle with a bit of gentle yoga, a bit of meditation and breath work. So kind of a combination of everything that I do for women who hold a lot and who would like, some space to reconnect with themselves, but also with other women who are going through similar challenges in life. And we are meeting on Saturdays, so 3 Saturdays a month in the morning. So yes, and as you mentioned, people can join.
Yeah. And that's on Zoom.
Yes, that's online, that's on Zoom. Yes, there's more details on my website. And yes, there's also a community. So even though we are meeting 3 times a month, there's support in between sessions. So I really love that part of it as well. So we can all be connected.
Amazing. So you've got small groups 3 times a month, small group, three meets 3 times a month on a Saturday morning, with a community. You also have another community space as well. You've got a free community space?
Correct. Yes, there's a free Telegram channel that our listeners can join, and that's just 4 very short practices that you can fit into your busy schedule at any point, and it's absolutely free. It's just, short videos, like short practices, short meditations that you can do, and they're tailored to kind of a specific issue that, you have, I don't know, digestive problems or, back problems, or they're like short videos that you can do.
I saw the one you did the other day with like the digestion when you were leaning over with the block, and I was like, oh, not seen that one before. So that Telegram group is definitely worth going and checking out and being in there because we can all find 5 minutes to do little practices. So if people are like, okay, I'm interested, I'm in. Where do I find this chick? Where can people come? Like if they're interested in the circle, if they're interested in exploring one-on-one, where do you hang out on the interwebs and can be found?
So I can be found on Instagram, Olga Marini Yoga. I'm also on Facebook, Olga Marini, and my website, olgamarini.com. So quite very, very straightforward.
The clue is in the name.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Amazing. So we will also make sure we get all of those links down in the show notes as well. So if you didn't catch those, head to the show notes. Olga, is there anything that you haven't shared with us today? Anything that you haven't said that you would like to say?
Oh, just to say that I really enjoyed the chat with you, Louise, and it's lovely to be on the podcast. I've been a fan of your podcast for such a long time, and to be here is a privilege.
Now you're here. And I think we can all agree that you absolutely smashed it. So, Olga, thank you so much for being on. I think we're going to call this episode More Than Yoga. That sort of really sort of gifted itself, didn't it? Um, yeah, so please reach out to Olga. Come and let either of us know how you found the episode. If you have questions about the certification or Wealthy Witches, please come and ask me. Can they come and ask you?
Of course, yes,
Or
absolutely.
go and ask Olga what she thinks. She'll give you the skinny inside she'll give you the scoop. Yeah, Olga, it's been a delight.
Thank you, Louise. It's been a pleasure.
And I will see people next time. Bye.